What's new, crew? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Cassandra, and this video I thought it'd be really fun to bring you guys along just throughout the entire month of July on the homestead, showing you guys different things, either projects I'm working on, things that my husband brings in that you guys don't always see. So some fishing and some preserving that way, a lot of garden stuff, some chicken chores, and just utilizing a ton of rainy days that we had throughout the month of July. I hope you guys like this style of video. My husband was able to go with some friends that he has to go salmon fishing, and as you can see, he came home with a bounty of salmon. This is honestly about a year's worth of salmon for us, so we were super grateful, but it was a lot of work. My husband filleted them out before he came home. Then when he got home, him and I started pulling out bones, which you can see here, and that took a hot minute. Then we went ahead and started figuring out what fillets we wanted to keep whole, if we wanted to cut some in half, basically how we were going to package them up. What we ended up doing is leaving 2 of our biggest fillets whole for either Christmas or Thanksgiving or something like that, and then the rest of them we kind of packaged up and then we smoked 2 of them. So these are the vacuum sealed ones. We just vacuum sealed these up once we pulled the bones up and got them in the freezer, labeled them of course, and we have a year's worth of salmon. Hi you guys, right now I'm getting ready to finish weeding some of my green beans and my peas. If you watch my garden tour, you know my family got hit with the flu again. It was about a week we were out of the garden and weeds took over, especially in the new garden where if you've ever added onto your like in-ground garden, you know that the grass that comes up is just insane those first year or two, until you kind of like work through all those seeds and get the grass seed out of there. Well, this is our first year over here and the grass is insane. So I'm gonna come through and hopefully finish weeding. I wanna finish weeding my green beans. I'm about halfway done here, and then I wanna come along the other end and weed some of my peas, so that way, hopefully over the weekend, because today's Friday, I can get out here tomorrow morning and kind of trellis these bad boys up and start letting them get a little bit happier, get some fertilizer on them, and get everybody really happy and where we need to be. My husband actually ran an errand. He took the baby with him. My older kids are outside running around, so I need to make the best out of my time baby free right now, so let's go. So I've been summoned for baby, but I was able to finish at least this half. My 7-year-old is helping, so she came and helped kind of finish this off. It's kind of choppy toward the end here, but it's enough progress to make me feel not so overwhelmed. And then hopefully tomorrow, I have a graduation party to go to tomorrow, but I should be able to come tomorrow morning and hopefully go along the other end here and finish this off. Before I go in though, I do need to fix this fence because we had a storm and it blew it down, and you can see the deer came in and ate down some of the sunflowers. So I'm gonna fix this fence, and then that's the last thing I'm gonna do today. I'm working on making some freezer biscuits. I wanna get those in the freezer, but I also wanna have some for dinner tonight. I think I'm gonna make Swedish meatballs. I'm not sure if I'm gonna make them over pasta or if we're gonna do it over rice. I could do it over mashed potatoes, but we tend to like potatoes more in the cooler months. I actually don't have any milk right now, but I always keep powdered milk in my pantry for things like this, especially when you're baking. You cannot tell the difference between milk and powdered milk. There's no difference in it. So I'm gonna mix up enough of this to make a batch of these freezer biscuits. I've never made this recipe before, so we're gonna test it for dinner tonight, put the rest of the biscuits that we're not having for dinner in the freezer, and if they go over really, really well, I wanna make a big batch of them and get like 100 of these in the freezer to have throughout like hunting season and through the winter when we're eating a ton of biscuits. I think it also would be really convenient to have them for easy things to have alongside breakfast with like egg biscuit sandwiches or just like biscuits and gravy. So I'm excited to get. I'll have this biscuit recipe linked down below. Of course, I found it on Pinterest, but it stood out compared to other ones because it's super simple. All it is 4 cups of flour, 2 tablespoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 cup butter, and 1 3/4 cup of milk. I have my KitchenAid out. We're gonna use my KitchenAid to make this process a little easier. I'm gonna pull out my rolling pin, and I don't have a pastry cutter or a biscuit cutter, so I've always used just a mason jar, and I just use the top of the lid and that's what I cut my biscuits with. It did say not to spin it because it can make the biscuits not work out. So I do have these Crustable makers, so I think I'm going to use the smallest circle on my Crustable maker and use this as a cutout for my biscuits. So we're going to see how this goes. These biscuits ended up being unbelievably easy to throw together. I actually did most of this with one hand because I had Cleo with me, but came together super easy. The one thing is I would roll these out not as thin next time. That was just a me error, but they did turn out really well. I'm excited to give these another go, but leave them not as thinly rolled out. They didn't puff up as much as I anticipated them to, but that was just me. London's just finishing rolling out the last biscuit, but we got about 30 biscuits out of these. So pretty exciting. We're probably gonna set aside, I'll probably pull out like 10 for dinner tonight, and then I will flash freeze the rest and get them in the freezer, and we'll have them for later days. These were super simple, super easy. The dough was really easy to work with. So far, so good. We're gonna see how they rise, however, but finally our first big-ish garden harvest came today. We went out and harvested this beautiful cauliflower head. I talked to you guys about harvesting cauliflower and harvesting broccoli. This is its whole separate video. I will link it down below for you guys, but this was my first like really good harvest of the season, and that made me feel really good because we've talked about recently how I just feel like nothing has been coming out of the garden. So this just made me feel really happy. We got this done, cleaned this bad boy out, and then we made a beautiful stir fry for dinner this night. Like I said, that video will be linked down below, and here's to hoping that many more things are coming out of the garden very soon. I'm eyeing those tomatoes up all day, every day, just waiting for them to turn any sort of color. Then here we are on a separate day, just washing eggs, and washing more eggs, and just kind of getting the egg rotation going. So this was just kind of another little homestead chore that I had to do, was to make sure that all of our eggs were washed up and in the fridge. That way we can use them to make hard-boiled eggs or whatever. Later this day I actually ended up making a big batch of freezer breakfast burritos, so needed these eggs washed up so that I could do that. Today is the 25th. It was a very rough morning this morning with Cleo. She's cutting a bunch of teeth right now, the most teeth I've ever had any of my 4 kids cut at once. So she was up at like 4 o'clock this morning, just very upset, which I understand. So I was up with her this morning. It is currently 10 o'clock. I just got her down for a nap about half an hour ago, but in that last half an hour I was very productive. I grabbed the baby monitor, the kids and I went out, and I actually cleaned out the chicken coop, which really needed to happen, and I restuffed the nesting boxes with fresh hay. I cleaned out some trash that somehow got into the chicken run. I was out there the other day in the garden and I noticed that there were like tin pieces in the chicken coop, in the chicken run specifically, so I went and cleaned that stuff up. We get that from time to time, just stuff blowing in from like other farms around here. We get like milking buckets and different things like that, and we try to return equipment to whoever it belongs, but this time it was just trash, so I took care of that and got that taken care of. I also took a stroll through the garden, and I'm very happy to report I have green beans growing on my green bean plants. I am so happy. I thought that they were a lost cause. It was causing me actually a lot of just like mental anguish over the last couple of weeks if you've been following that journey. So I will get green beans this year. I'm so happy about it. I also noticed that my pea plants are starting to really sprout up, and they have lots of flowers on them, and they're starting to come through. So it's just gonna be a way later harvest on those things that I'm used to, but I'm totally okay with that as long as they come in. I'm super grateful. Oh, so excited. I also noticed a lot of my squash are finally starting to get blossom. I don't know if it's gonna be a great squash harvest year, but it is what it is. Whatever comes out of the garden comes out. So that just made me so happy. I also went down into the chicken run and picked up all of my dishes. I am notorious for carrying out scraps. If it's, for whatever reason, if I don't carry scraps out in a scrap bucket and I carry them out in like a pot or a pan or something, I always leave my pot or pan down in the chicken run. I just always forget it because I get down there, I dump the scraps, and I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna dump the scraps and come right back. But that never happens. I actually end up spending way more time out there. I'm hanging out with the chickens. I see that they need water or that the water needs to be scrubbed. I do other things, and then I forget about my pot. So I had a whole handful of dishes that I carried in, and I got those washed up. So very productive. So I was able to get a lot of things done this morning, but that's just the reality of babies and household chores and things like that. So I already got a lot of things checked off the box for me this morning. I'm very tired, so I'm just going to hang out with the older kids while she naps. We pulled out colors and coloring books and stuff, so I think we're gonna do that. We're watching Tom and Jerry. Down by the chickens, it's 90 degrees. It's supposed to reach almost 100 today and the next 2 days, so for a total of 3 days. I have some frozen corn here. I'm gonna just sprinkle this out in the coop, give the chickens something cold in their systems, and then I'm going to refill their 5-gallon water with fresh water from the hose, and then I'm going to go get a bunch of ice and put it in their water to keep it cold for an extended period of time. It's about 2 o'clock. It's so hot right now. I just checked the temperature before I came out. It's 96 degrees, which is should not be a thing, but it's super important that I keep them cool and well watered over the next couple of days. Otherwise you'll have a chicken die of heat stroke so quickly. So frozen corn or frozen peas, anything like that. I just happen to have some extra frozen corn, so that's what I'm going to use today. But carrots, anything like that, frozen vegetables. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me this month on the homestead, taking care of different things, showing you guys things that maybe you don't always get to see. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day wherever you are, and of course I will catch you guys in another video. Bye.